WDIZ.com.
Another day in the life of the captain. The Redskins lost, and so did the Jaguars and the Bucks and the Dolphins. Oh my goodness. It's Christmas time in the house, and I'm with some losers. I might as well start rooting for San Francisco to win the West. You like that one, Paulie?
Especially it might be 6-10 takes the West.
6-10?
I tell you now, it would almost be good if that happened, for one reason. If 6-10 would take the West, then you would see at the next owners meeting the thing, they would rethink about the division winners get an automatic playoff berth.
I know. This whole thing is just crazy. It's crazy.
But it's incredible. How can you have week after week the whole division loses? I mean, you never seen anything like that before.
Never. But anyhow, you never heard a bell like this one before.
Yeah.
You like my new captain's bell?
It's kind of like that was the supper bell I had when I was a child. My mother used to ring, and if we didn't get there in time, the kitchen was
Your
closed.
mother would ring a supper bell?
Yeah, it's a supper bell. I'm old school. I'm old.
Anyhow, time for another edition of the Sports Crunch right here on Rock100DIZ.com. Hit us up at 888-860-0157 if you got something on your mind, or better yet, why don't you just shoot us an email at request at Rock100DIZ.com. We've got lots to talk about, and you can even see we're very festive. We've got our tree, and even my significant other, my boo, look what she gave me. She gave me a Redskins stocking. But I don't see no wins in here. I just see the stocking.
It looks like it might have some cologne in there or something, musk or something. What is
musk,
that?
I don't know, but we're going to talk about everybody.
One thing at the beginning of the show, I want to throw out to any of our listeners, either to call or email, because I tried to research this, and I could not find this out, and it was about the Miami Dolphins record. I was trying to find if there was any other team in the history of the NFL in the modern era, which is like post-1970, because that was after the merger, that a team was 6-1 on the road and 1-6 at home, because I don't think that's ever been done before, that a team had a tremendous record on the road and such a horrific record at home. And I think the Dolphins might be the first one who's done that.
I'm surprised Cassino hasn't.
Well, one thing about Cassino, I'll say one thing. You're happy about one thing, Cassino. That is Hito Turkoglu autographed sneakers I gave you last year. Now they're worth something. You can go on, if you need some extra cash, go on Craigslist or eBay and cash out and get something for your girl down south, because you can get some money for those babies now.
Yes. Any Magic fan would be happy, but we'll talk about that in the second portion of the program. Now, let's take a quick look at the Church of the NFL from this week number 14. We'll go to the very top. You know what happened on Thursday night? San Diego all over San Francisco, 34-7. New Orleans goes to Baltimore
and loses.
Well, it's cold outside.
Well, I'll tell you now, the Baltimore is a team that probably scares a lot of teams. And I'll tell you one team that really scares, and it's the team that has the best record in the AFC, is the Patriots. The Patriots don't want no part of the Ravens. I mean, even if they're at home, whatever, because you figure the Ravens crushed them last year in the playoffs, and this year they had to go to overtime to beat them back in October. So that's a team that's probably the scariest team for the Patriots to probably have to play in the first round of the playoffs, or any round of the playoffs.
Well, we'll soon find out, won't we? Just like this one, Paulie. This one got me, and I really didn't watch football this weekend, as you can tell, trying to get the studios ready for the holidays. Carolina 19, Arizona 12. At one point, wasn't that game like 14-0 or something?
Yeah, I mean, this is with teams. I mean, this is like John Fox's last win as a Carolina coach. So I guess he was happy to go home. His last home game in the stadium as a winner.
Philadelphia 38, the Giants 31. When I turned on the TV and talked to you, the Giants were winning 24-10.
And things sure
Actually,
changed.
they were winning 24-3.
And then things went downhill real fast after
Unbelievable.
that.
Absolutely.
But this is what they call the new miracle at the Meadowlands and the new Meadowlands Stadium, because this was even more devastating than the original miracle at the Meadowlands, where Larry Zonka and Pisarcik fumbled that one.
Joe Pisarcik.
And Herman Edwards ran that back for a thing, because that game didn't mean anything. That team wasn't going anywhere. This was a game that cost them the division. that there's no only way the Giants can get in now is via the wild card. And they got a hard game next week going to Green Bay because next week you have Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. If they lose that game in Green Bay next week, the Giants may not even make the playoffs. And they were talking today because I was listening to different cities today because I was trying to get the vibe of how everybody was thinking. And I think Coughlin is gone if they don't make the playoffs because I think the fact that they were 9-4 and that just totally choked the rest of the season and not make the playoffs, I don't think he'll save his job.
Wow. No love from we won a Super Bowl how long ago?
Well, he won it in 2007. The 2008 Super Bowl was the season of 2007. But I just think, they're trying to sell those high-end seats up there, those PSLs and everything, and I think you don't make the playoffs 2 years in a row, and especially both seasons you were way up there and you just totally crash at the end. It'll be hard. But the Maras don't really want to make a change because they like Jerry Reese, the general manager. Jerry Reese has been a great general manager, brought in a lot of good talent for that team. And if they get somebody like Bill Cowher or Chucky, they'll probably want their own general managers and things, and they'd have to clean stuff. And I don't think the Giants really want to do that. So it would really take a lot of pressure from the fans and maybe the media up there for them to get rid of Tom Coughlin.
So you're talking about Chucky possibly could be available to coach?
I would think Chucky would be more likely to coach in Miami because there's another spot that's really feeling a lot of heat. Tony Sparano, he's really getting a lot of heat. The people were ugly there yesterday in Miami. And they're very unhappy. I mean, you can't blame them. I mean, you're playing an inferior Buffalo team, and you're at home, and to lay an egg like that. But, I mean, the kicker misses 4 field goals. I mean,
Well, the kicker will end up in Washington kicking for them, for crying out loud. We'll pick up anybody.
I mean, it's just like, the Dolphin fan base is very fair weather. It really hurts them down there. They're totally enamored with the Heat now, and they definitely don't want the Heat to be over the Dolphins because the Dolphins have always been the number 1 team in South Florida. But I'd say right now the Heat might be overtaking them.
Well, we'll talk more about that Miami Buffalo game coming up. But first, let's go cross-state. I know my buddy Mike Stevens is happier than a one-legged man in a behind-kicking contest. Why? Detroit finally
broke their 3-year losing streak on the road.
And they beat the Bucks that supposedly claimed to be the best team in the NFC at one point.
Well, at one point they were pretty. I don't think anybody ever thought that. I mean, I think that was Raheem Morris trying to get the team inspired, get them respect and everything, make them feel good about themselves. And when he said that, they were 7-3, so it was kind of like a claim that nobody was buying, but they did have a winning record. Unfortunately, they hadn't beaten anybody to have that 7-3 record. I mean, they've laid an egg against the Saints, they've laid an egg against the Falcons, and those are all teams with winning records. Yesterday, they lost to a team with a losing record. It was the first one they lost to a team with a losing record.
So go figure. Detroit, and who played quarterback for the Lions? Do you know? Yeah, I knew you were going to have to look that one up. I thought you knew the guy's name off the top of your head.
It was the guy that's
because they've got so many people up there playing quarterback. I really think.
Well, Calvin Johnson was the key to that game. He made a lot of key. He had over 100 yards in receptions, so he was the reason they won the game in overtime. He was the reason they were in the thing to win the game. So Calvin Johnson, he's a Pro Bowl player.
Okay, they had a guy named Stanton. Okay, Stanton had a rating of 91.3. He was 23 of 37 for 252. Now, the Bucks don't look too bad either. Now, look at this. Josh Freeman was 21 of 32 for 251.
No, he didn't throw any picks, I don't think.
No,
either.
he got a touchdown, but no picks. It was 99.9. See, this ratings thing is foolishness.
Well, I'll tell you.
I think it's just some angry white person sitting around saying that, I just got to come up with another number.
Well, it's all for the fantasy people to have these things, but I mean, the bottom line is you win and loss is the whole thing in points on the board.
Thank you.
Like you take the Patriots, right? They're 28th ranked defense in the NFL, and they're whatever against the pass, but the bottom line is when your team's putting up 31 to 40 points a game, it doesn't matter. You can outscore your opponents.
True. Speaking of angry folks, our buddy Mick Dolan is on top of the world. Kansas City won the Battle of Missouri 27-13 over St. Louis.
And they control their own destiny. If they don't lose, if they win the next 2 games they play, they're going to win. And San Diego has got to hope that they can win a wild card. They will not win a division.
Who won't win the division? San Diego? Okay. Well, I'm a little happy for Kansas City, but I'm curious. I see Matt Castle played 184 yards passing.
Well, Jamal,
he had a TD and he had a pick.
Yeah, but Jamal Charles is the one that exploded on that game. Jamal Charles.
He had 11 carries for 126 yards. If you turn the monitor on over here, you'd see what's going on.
Well, you know, it's really, it's Michael Vick. Look at Michael Vick had 10 carries for 130 yards. What a day for Michael.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of what a day, what's going on with Jacksonville? You know, hold on. Give me some Jaggies music. I said I wasn't going to bash the Jaggies because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then all of a sudden, Jack, hey Jack, give me some Jaguars music there. Thank you. Paulie, why is it every year that Jacksonville has destiny in their own freaking hands and they drop it?
Well, there was two key things in that game where they lost it. That 4th and 1 where they didn't make it was horrible. Bad call on Del Rio. That's on him. I know in the press conference after that he said, if I had to do it again, I'd do it again. That was a stupid thing to say. That was a bad call. And then the Josh Scobie onside kick had to be the worst onside kick I've ever seen. You couldn't have done any worse, or I couldn't have done any worse than what he did, kicking it right to the Colt player that ran right into the
I saw that one.
I mean, that was horrible.
But hold on now. Didn't Mojo have a fumble?
Yeah, and that was on the 4th and 1 thing. That was a bad, play. That's what turned the whole turn on that game for the most part. But they did come back, and like I say, if they had a little more time, they might have been able to pull it out. But I say, when you're delegated at the end to hope and a prayer with an onside kick, it usually doesn't work out for you, especially when you're on the road.
Well, David Garrard he was 24-38 for 294, 2 TDs, and of course he had to throw a pick. Manning was 29-39 for 229.
Now, I actually pulled this up from
2 TDs
from one of the beat reporters, Tanya Ganguly. She actually broke.
Oh, that's your new wife up there in Jacksonville. She loves you.
Oh, yeah, with the pumps and the sunglasses.
Yeah, the only woman I know wears pumps to a football game.
But anyway, she did a good job of breaking it down. And here it comes down. Currently, the Jaguars and Colts have the same overall record, 8-6, and the same divisional record, 3-2, against common opponents: Texans, Titans, Broncos, Giants, Chiefs, Eagles, Chargers, and Cowboys. The Colts are 6-4, and the Jags are 5-5. The team's next 2 games are both against common opponents. The Jaguars play the Redskins and the Texans, and the Colts play the Raiders and the Titans. If both teams win out, they will have identical overall and divisional records, and the Colts will still lead in the common opponents tiebreaker. If the Colts lose a game, that opens the door for Jaguars, who can win their final 2 games and have a better record and a better win and better record in the division. So what we get a hope for next week is that Darren McFadden of the Raiders goes off on them like he did on us. And they're playing that game in Oakland.
Okay, so let me see if I got this right, Paulie, before we take a break. Jacksonville must beat Washington.
And must beat Houston.
And must beat Houston.
Yeah, and then you got to hope.
And then hope that Indianapolis loses one of the next 2.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll lose to the Titans at home. So I think if they beat Oakland this week, I think you can pretty much count they're not going to make the playoffs.
Who ain't going to make the playoffs? Jacksonville?
Jags, yeah.
The Jags would then be out again.
Well, they wouldn't totally be dead, but I think if you have, let's face it, if you're betting on anything from the teams we've seen, it looks like to me the Titans have pretty much called it in. I don't think even Houston's probably called it in. So I think the Jags will go down and beat Houston. You got to hope that they
Washington's on fire. Or no, you got to hope that Washington comes and lays an egg.
Well, I don't know if they will or not.
We're going to talk about how this team, the Redskins, when you think they're dead in the water, they come up with something. So we'll talk about that and much, much more. And also, we're going to talk some basketball. Hey, if you want to get in on it, 888-860-0157, or shoot us an email at request@rock100diz.com. More of the Sports Crunch coming up after this.